Howdy folks, we're going to jump into chapter 2 here and start making some PHP programs that will actually take some user input, work with some forms, talk about some data types, and get started in our journey here in PHP. So we're going to talk about forms. You can use them in index pages, static pages. Just having the form here on the PHP page and sending it to itself is probably fine as well. I'm not too concerned one way or the other, and I think it'll be an easy example this way for us. So if you don't mind, I'm actually just going to go and copy paste a form because I don't want to have to type all that in myself. That is not very fun. So let me go grab another form here, and then we'll go and edit that and kind of play with it as we go here. We'll see how well this pastes. Nope. Where's my copy button? Control C, copy, right? Copy. Let's try that. There's a form. Okay. So we'll drop this down a little bit here. We'll have labels and inputs, and we should be in pretty good shape here. All right. And an input and ending the form here. So this is one right out of the text. First name, last name. This is a non-breaking space, just kind of spaces things out a little bit. And a submit button. And we want to send this just to ourselves. We're going to send it to index.php with the get method. So there's two ways of sending data with forms. There's gets and there's posts. So gets are generally for operations that aren't going to be changing anything. It's okay to submit it multiple times. So like if you just go out and do a Google search or a Bing search, that's a get request. And you'll see all of the values being passed in the query string, in the URL itself, which is kind of fun. So let's go and run this, make sure we can see a form here. All right, so we get first name, we get last name. So if I put in Eric and Chernesky here and submit, we see in the URL here, first name Eric, ampersand, last name equal Chernesky. So if you're sending data with a GET request, it's going to show up in the URL after the question mark here, and then every next piece of that form will be separated with the ampersand. So we'll separate them that way. And then you can go in and you can even change these if you want from the URL. You don't necessarily have to use the form, which is kind of fun. But now let's go and do something with it. So if you want to get those values back out, let's go and get those. So generally two things happen. We want, at the start of our page, we want to do some PHP code. And then the rest of our page is just HTML, except where we want to echo things. So the rest of what we're going to do is just, hey, I want to echo something out, right? And I'll have an echo. We'll look at that in just a minute here. But what I can do here then is I can get those values out from the request. Now there's there's get data and there's post data. So to get something out of the get data, we're going to use this $_get here, and then you use square braces, and then in quotes here you tell it what is the name of the field, the parameter you want to go get. So this one was called first name, so I should be able to get the value associated with first name out of the get request. And what do I want to do with it? I want to assign it somewhere. So let's say this is first name. Now in PHP, a couple different conventions. I like this snake casing. I think that's pretty popular, and that's what the book does. So we'll try and stick to snake casing, where we don't use capital letters. We just separate words with underscores, and then a semicolon. And we'll do a similar thing for the last name. Now it's warning us we shouldn't actually use get. There's other ways to do this, but we'll get to those later. I'm going to start basic, and then we'll start adding in the fancier stuff as we go. We can do the same with last name. We'll get the value associated with last name, and we'll save them as variables. So I have a variable named first name and a variable named last name, and I'll get the data out from it here. Now, to use those then, to echo them, all I have to do is say, hey, I want to echo first name. Or we can even like say hi, right? This is hi. Now, PHP is a little funny here. Their concatenation is the period mark, not a plus. So to take strings and concatenate them, you use the period mark here. So you'd say hi first name, and then concatenate, another space, concatenate, $last name. And we'll say hi, first name, last name. Right, so I'll give that a save. Now with just a PHP file, I can just come back here and refresh. I don't even have to hit run again here. And we'll see it says hi, Eric Chernesky, because first name was passed and last name was passed. Now, oops, that's the wrong thing here. I don't know where that one went. No, what is this one doing here? Oh my goodness. Friends, we got too many things going on the page here. All right, let's try that again. Let's just launch it. Now, if you just go to index.php, these are the warnings. When we talked about debugging last chapter, it has no idea what a first name is and a last name is because we haven't passed those values yet. So it just says hi, and we get some ugly errors here telling us, hey, on our line 2 and our line 3, bad stuff happened. Now I can go and fill this out and put in Eric Chernesky here, right, and submit. And then now we'll see the values here, and those errors go away because we've passed first name and last name. And if you want to change them, you can do that. You can say, hey, let's change my last name to just, Char Char. So that Dr. Ball likes to call me for some reason. That's okay. I don't mind too much. So you can change it in the URL, or you can change it in the form here if you want. Either one's perfectly fine. So that's getting data out of the GET request there with a form. You can do the same thing with POST if you're sending the data with a POST request. So let's do, let's leave this one here for GET. Let's do another form for POST. And let's actually change this page here now, because that's a little ugly to end up there and have some sort of error. So let's send this to, how about, let's look at view.php, and then we'll use the method of POST. So with POST then, we'll submit the data, and it's going to go to a view PHP file. So we need to add a new PHP file. Call this view. So again, same idea here. I'll just pretty much copy this code here. We'll get the first and the last name, and then we can just echo this back out. Oh, actually, sorry, inside of all the HTML. We should make this look pretty here. But then we don't need the form itself. We'll get rid of those forms, because why bother? And we'll just say first and last name. Now I'm going to run that again to make sure it gets copied out to that htdocs folder. So now if I do a first name Eric and Chernesky and submit, it'll take me to view PHP, and it has a undefined array key first name and last name. Well, what happened? Well, I was still trying to get them out of GET. If you're sending data over POST, they don't exist in GET. We need to change this to $post here. We'll change this one to $post. Now, here's where posting data gets funny here. To refresh, usually you're going to get a warning like, hey, you're about to resubmit a form. If you're posting data, posts are generally meant for things that will take an action. So you don't generally want to post something twice. Like if you're checking out at the website, you don't want to check out twice, right? And there's ways we can deal with this later and we'll get into, so it's not quite so ugly. But yes, I do want to continue. And now we'll get the hi Eric Chernesky shows up on my form here. Now what's fun about this here, let me see, this is our index page. If I hit F12 here and turn on DevTools, I can go to the Network tab here. So F12 will open up the DevTools, and any good modern browser here is perfectly fine. And you want to go to the Network tab. Now with a GET request, we'll just put in Eric and Chernesky again here, and we say submit. It's going to track that network request, and it's going to say, here, I went to index PHP, question mark, first name equals Eric, and last name equals Chernesky. But you can look at this payload section, and the payload section will pull out all of that data for you. Really nice. So it's quick and easy to see what those values are when you might be passing lots of different data here. So that's for the GET request. It also does it for the POST request. So I'll go to Eric Chernesky here and submit that. And now we'll see I'm to view PHP. There's nothing in the URL. So posting doesn't put anything in the URL, but it's still added as the payload. And we'll see there's still the form data being passed here as the payload. So you can inspect all of that with your DevTools. That's F12 to turn that one on here. It's fantastic. That's basics using a form here for getting data out of GETs and POSTs. So we'll take a break here. We'll pick up some different operators and data types in the next video.